That's not working. Let's try again. Come on. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. Hey there. It's Sunday. Let me give you the heads up that there's a big storm blowing through Ohio right now. Yeah? I'm telling you, it's been so hot
here that the storms are they just keep coming.
Yeah, that would be exactly where I'm gonna say to be.
We didn't shift anything. If you go to the clock, it
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Target Radio. And it's June. We have Supreme Court conversations to talk about.
Boy, do we? She comes in, gives me like a 2-inch stack of stuff, says, hey, you better read this quick before we go on the air.
Well, you should have been doing prep all week because there's just stuff coming at you. But the Supreme Court, for those of you who are not Supreme Court junkies, imagine that. I can't even imagine that. But if you're not a Supreme Court junkie, then we have to explain that the Supreme Court takes a break at the end of June, and so they're off July, August, and September. So that's when they do not. They
That's
do not
because they're out
hear
having
cases.
fair food or something.
Could be. They're not hearing cases. So then October 1 they start back, and then they start hearing cases, and they hear the cases and they ask questions, and there's like really crazy Supreme Court rules in how much time everybody gets to present their case. And so you get a lot more opportunity to present your case in writing than you do to present it in person. I mean, they kind of are like, okay, yeah, we've heard enough of you guys. Just cut to the chase, give me the data, give me the facts, and let me think about it. So then as spring rolls around, they start to roll out decisions. But June is like, this is the time where all the decisions are coming off their desk, and they come rolling out one after another. And so you get a lot of them. And so this past week, we got the Cargill decision, which was on bump stocks, and Cargill was the manufacturer of the bump stocks themselves. And the Supreme Court sided with Cargill.
When you look at this stuff, the Supreme Court decisions like these haunted mansion things. Every little room is got something different, and sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's the booger man standing there saying boo, and depending on which team you're on,
right?
And so this Cargill thing is huge, and in a lot of different ways, and it's whether you own a gun or not, it's going to affect you.
Well, the interesting part is the Cargill came out last week. We talked about it a little bit, but there's just so much to unpack that you will be hearing more putting the pieces together on Cargill all over.
Because at first it's just, bump stocks are illegal. Do you remember where you buried yours?
I didn't bury mine. I didn't have one. I didn't have one. But
are you one of the suckers who sawed it up without any video proof so that you can't?
Neither. I did not own one.
See,
and
look at how far behind the times you were.
So I did not own one, but at the same time, I am not someone who believes that because I don't own one, I don't care.
We tried to get the sheriff to babysit, and then they said no.
He wasn't gonna. They were like, we have to turn it into local law enforcement. He's like, oh no, you're not. We're not. So the Cargill, there's more stuff coming as to how that may peel back and some of that. But then
and then there's other factors in the government that are using Cargill as a crutch to say it's something that it's not.
Right.
So the misrepresentation of it all of a sudden is being used for other things.
So yeah, in a segment we'll come back and kind of peel through the Cargill stuff as to what it is and what it's not, and where the next pieces are going to fall in on that. But the interesting part was that this week then the Rahimi case came out. And Rahimi was, at least in my opinion, it was a due process case. And it looks as if in the Supreme Court's opinion, it is solely a domestic violence case. And so
but Clarence Thomas says that he sees it as
due process.
Due process
right.
also.
But it was 8-1, where the others were like, I can't hear you, Clarence. I'm not seeing what you're seeing,
Well,
Clarence.
I think it's going to come back to them, because I think whatever that is, the fourth or fifth, I think it's the fifth amendment of due process starts to.
Self-incrimination is the fifth.
Anyhow, they're gonna come back and visit that, because it's gonna touch more people under this part of it than it did under the any of the, whatever you want to call it, the just domestic violence thing.
Well, so the real interesting, I just want to say that I feel really bad about saying I think the Supreme Court was wrong, right? I feel bad about that, but I'm saying it because I think that.
Well, it makes one of those, because of the fact that we think the Supreme Court is wrong. Is there any recourse, or is it kind of like that Roe versus Wade, where we just have to wait 45 years for them to see it on their own?
For them to see it on their own. Well, it actually, there may be. there may be. And so the statement that came out from lawyers, because I'm not one, that are way smarter than I am, was that there came a public statement from the Second Amendment Foundation. That there's a couple pieces of it that I want to share with you. And so they said, Rahimi poses a difficult issue for the court to resolve. And while the court may have arrived at a conclusion that society believes to be best, it did so in a manner that poses some inconsistencies with what Bruin demands. And so the Bruin decision of 2022 was 1791 History, Text, and Tradition. So the real case isn't domestic violence, and they cover it here. To be clear, and I concur with this, domestic violence is abhorrent, and those who commit such acts should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because it's violence, and so it should be prosecuted as such. And if prosecuted and found guilty, then that conviction would result in a disarmament through imprisonment. And I concur with that too. Lock them up, right? All of that. And but SAF picks up on exactly what I was thinking, which is stripping an individual of their Second Amendment rights when they have not been accused or convicted of a crime is not consistent with the constitutional process. So domestic violence, it could be an accusation, it could be, there's some accusation to it, but definitely not a conviction.
Well, I mean, if it's been in front of the judge, then it's no longer an
accusation solely.
Right.
It is, then they have reached due process, right? So there's a lot of that, but here's where the out is that came from Alan Gottlieb. He says that while Rahimi himself is the focal point in this case, the unintended consequences of how the court justified upholding 922G8 may affect the Second Amendment rights of millions of Americans if the lower courts adopt a similar approach. So they're saying, because what happened was the courts took history, text, and tradition in little pieces, ignoring other pieces of it. So there are some histories of disarming people based on accusations, but the majority of those histories are based in racist accusations. They were based in things that were set to cause a certain group of people based on their look, based on their origination point, based on something like that. And so they picked out just these little cherry picking things and used those. But here's where he offers hope. He's like, this makes it even more important that the court take any number of other Second Amendment cases at its door to further clarify that the Second Amendment protects a pre-existing fundamental individual right and how to appropriately conduct the analysis that Bruin requires. So I concur with that. I mean, it really is to make sure that you can use the decisions that Bruin has built in to be able to make Second Amendment statements, Second Amendment decisions, and not just cherry pick little bits of something that don't really have full measure of meaning. So when we come back, we'll talk more about it.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds, or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so did you see where Chicago is having? They're very worried that citizens are arming themselves and they're fighting back. And so they're thinking that that's not necessarily a
Well, the funny
great...
part is, I mean, I have one here of a judge from Detroit who got picked up with a gun in their luggage trying to fly somewhere. So even the judges have armed themselves. So I think either the police need to step it up, or the criminals need to start worrying about what's coming down the line.
What the citizens are doing. So the Chicago Tribune had an editorial that starts with, worryingly, we're seeing more signs that the phenomenon in Chicago, with 3 separate episodes over the last weekend in which a would-be victim, this is the key words, I want you to tune in on this, would-be victims proved to be both armed and willing to fire on their assailants. Well,
this is the big thing, is a lot of people in the old days, they used to be armed, but they were afraid to shoot because they would get in trouble.
But they are...
I think that false front is starting to crumble.
To crumble away. Well, in this past weekend, 71 people were shot in Chicago. 9 of them passed away. The prior weekend, 44 people were shot. So it wasn't like this was just an anomaly. 44 people were shot, with 8 of them passing away. And but there were 3 incidents of armed citizens being attacked who then did not become part of that statistic.
Is this workplace violence, or is it something else?
In this case, these are just folks that are going about their business.
Right, but the other ones were at work.
The criminals?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, if that's their job, right? I don't know, but it's just interesting that they are more worried that people take up arms and are willing to fire at their assailants and cause them to not be a victim. You know, there's actually programs that are called Refuse to be a Victim, right? So these people armed themselves, trained, got a permit, got a FOID card, did all of the right things.
Well, the thing is, the Supreme Court said that the police are not there to protect you, and that you're your own first responder. So if somebody's going to attack you, you're going to be the first one to know it.
Well, in Chicago, 400 police officer positions were eliminated. So not just not filled, eliminated in 2020. So how many police do you have in a city if you can eliminate 400? But okay. But whatever the number is, it's not enough, because more than 50% they rank the calls. And so if the crime has already happened, it's not a high priority call. Now it's you could drive to the station and make a report. More than 50% of high priority calls into 911, into the emergency dispatchers, go unanswered. It's not that, I mean, it's not even, oh, nobody's coming. It is nobody's even answering 911. How may I help you? No, it is ring.
So what?
Ring.
I mean, is that a budget issue? Is it just that the politicians don't give
to whatever's right? Yes. I think that they have politicians had bought into the police were bad, the criminals are misunderstood, and so they were like, we'll just get rid of.
But the thing is,
we'll
like,
save money.
The 911 operator, they have no idea what your issue is before you get there. I mean, whether you lost your car keys, your house is on fire, somebody's robbing you, or whatever. So they should answer the phone, and then at that point, maybe they could transfer your call to somebody who doesn't care. But up until then, you have an emergency until it's, I think they call it like Schrodinger's cat or something. You have an emergency until they decide it's not.
Not an emergency, right? So, exactly, 50% of them go unanswered. So when they say you are your own first responder,
well, and there's
really
probably a 30% of the people who don't dial 911. You've seen the T-shirts and stuff like that.
Right.
We'll deal with it ourselves.
I'm not dialing 911. You're not coming anyhow, so why
would
bother?
you call attention to yourself, right?
Why bother?
We'll just deal with it.
I know you're not coming, so I might as well just address it this way. You know?
I'll call my cousin. He'll help me out with this.
They're like, yeah, don't make a hunter angry because they know all of the spots where when they're walking through trying to track a deer and they can't find them, they're like, let me keep this place in mind. Right? So, no, but it's crazy, though, that the newspaper thinks that it is a problem that people fight back. It is crazy.
Well, the thing is, we've taken personal protection away from people. We've handed it to the police, saying that you don't need a gun. Here's your gun. Call 911, and your gun will arrive. And
right. It's sort of like call for a pizza, call for 911, see who comes first.
But then we've started to cut that back. So is it that we don't have the money? We don't have the.
I think it's they don't have.
Just have a bad attitude. Is that
they don't have a belief in the system? So the powers to be that lord over a community look at it and say, are these people coming to help my people, or are they not? Are they coming to help my community, or are they not? Are they more of a problem than they are a solution? And so they have decided that they are more of a problem than a solution, and so they treat them in that manner with no plan to be how do you now have anybody come, right? But even when they want to have police officers, they cannot because they have done so many things to them that it's no longer a valid career choice for so many people.
Well, it started out, I can remember when we were kids. Remember the old police on TV? They just wore a nice little blue uniform. They didn't look like the Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything. They didn't have helmets. But
I'm not sure that anybody was trying to kill Adam 12.
But the thing is, where's the spot where they got to...
We'll talk more when we come back after break.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so you were talking about the change in police officers and the change in policing over time,
Well,
because in
if we make it so that the police officers can't do their job, then all of a sudden now they're up against people more determined to do them harm. So we have to dress them in these assault clothes or whatever you want to call it, the football gear, I guess, with the tactical football gear.
I cannot imagine that the outfit that they wear is comfortable, yet they want to go home. And
it's mainly bullet resistant is the big plus to it. So you have to put it on and go through this hot, sweaty day just because of the fact that you got an aversion to bullet holes.
I think we all have that, right? So,
but it's the kind of thing is if we dealt more harshly with the criminal at an earlier age, then you don't end up with a repeat criminal that's been in the system for 30 years that now has.
That there's nothing that you can do that will cause them to rethink their life choices.
Right. I mean, they're not going to stop. They're not slowing down. They if they can buy a gun, they're going to, whether it's legal for them or not. If they get the opportunity, they'll shoot at you or cut you or whatever goes on. So, had you, as Barney Fife said, nipped it in the bud, would it have not been in this?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, and so we've gone, the pendulum has swung so far that it is not the criminal's fault, and that's where they've been. They've been like, you've got to understand, it's not their fault. No, once you select a
Well,
path.
the thing is, if you think about it on the basics of, we hire these police officers to do this job to get these distasteful characters out of our society, and yet then we put these restraints on them so that they can't do their job. How do they win in that situation? And so
what makes them want to come back to be a police officer? Yeah.
Right. So it's the kind of thing is we're going to have to go back to where they're going to have more power, and as much as we don't really want that to happen, because that may be your head they splitting with the Billy Club.
Well, I just
but,
yeah.
If the power is fair and equitable, I guess, then it's fine. If you got the guy with the 500-pound badge or something that goes on to where they don't like
they have to be dealt with through the system,
right?
And so that was another piece that we'd gone down the path of, was that we'd seen. I mean, and that probably, and maybe that's part of the start, was that the unions. So there's this combination of are people going after are people going after other people for cause, and are they terminated for just cause or not? And whether it's any of the just kind of anybody anywhere, when you look at it, we all have heard stories, and we have all worked places where somebody who should have been terminated was not terminated for some reason, where they were like, well, we don't want to have a problem, we don't want to make it worse, we don't want to.
Well, and the thing about it, employment is so bad for, I mean, in anything. It doesn't matter if you're making donuts, if you're stocking shelves or whatever. Once you've made it to your 90-day tryout period, you're pretty much
you get tenure.
They can't they can't hardly get rid of you. So there's a spot where we're trapped with this system, instead of the old days of if you weren't working out, we'd hire somebody else and you'd be looking for a job.
Right, you were looking for a job when you find this one, you'll be looking for a job when you find the next one. Exactly. I mean, so I think that they have to. So when you go back into the first responder kind of thing, they have to monitor and correct themselves as the first step to it. Then the courts can, then the other things. But if they skip that step, then it just starts to break down. But then, you're trying to get somebody to get a job, wanting to have a job, when people want to hurt you. It's not necessarily a career path where I'd be like, come here, little honey, and let me show you that this is a fabulous job, right? When people want to hurt you, it's really hard to convince other people, that this is a career path that they really want. So I don't know. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. I really don't. I absolutely don't. So so you were mentioning earlier about the judge who had an unregistered handgun at the airport. So a Detroit judge was flying to Philadelphia, I believe. No, to New York. Flying to New York, and just so happened to have a gun in their purse that they took through TSA check. The TSA said the firearm was not artfully concealed, which means it was just dropped in the bag in some manner. And maybe it was a concealed carry purse, maybe it wasn't. And so they located Mrs. Miller's credentials, her ID, her driver's license, and whatever.
I'm just going to show you that the average person really doesn't know the laws well at all. This judge should know the laws. It still got past, I believe it's a her. And
it's a her.
So she got caught in the system, but
she got caught on a couple levels, because the first one is that Michigan is fairly anti-gun. All your guns have to be registered. This gun is traveling under the radar. It is not registered. She got it from her brother, who got it from somewhere. it says. Later on in the story, the lawyer is now saying it belonged to a close friend. She had told TSA it was her brother's. So maybe her brother is her close friend. I do not know.
Maybe she got it from the brother, but he got it from the close friend.
I mean,
Nothing says they can't both have the same friend.
Maybe not. But it was required to be registered. Her job is to uphold the law.
Maybe it's just an unhoused gun, and it's not really that it doesn't have paperwork.
It's undocumented.
It's an undocumented.
It's an undocumented firearm. Well, that seems to be
Maybe Joe
what
Biden
it
gave
was.
it to her. Maybe that's the close friend, eh?
So
came in on a bus.
Came in on a bus. Now, the interesting part was that the writer of this article that was in Bearing Arms was talking about other law enforcement officials and judges in Michigan who have been caught by TSA. Oh, by the way, you can fly with a gun. You cannot fly with a gun in your purse. You cannot fly with a gun in your carry-on.
It could be in your luggage, but it can't. But you can't have access to the luggage while the plane's
Correct.
in the air.
So she could have flown with this gun, and then no one would have known that it was not registered, because TSA is not going to check to see if it's registered or not. So when she got arrested, then that's where they identified both of these things. Now, in Wayne County had a similar incident, and the judge then elected to the county prosecutors, the county prosecutors took the case and decided not to charge that person at that time because they were unable to prove that they intentionally brought the firearm to the airport. So if she's got it shoved in her purse and her story is, oh, I didn't know it was there, then if that seems to be the story that's the get out of jail free card, then that will be the story that is the get out of jail free card. But folks, I'm going to tell you, don't try it yourself. Just don't be like, oh, I'm just going to say I didn't know where it came from. It was a friend's. It just showed up there. Somebody put it in my purse. Whatever those answers are. If you are a concealed carry person and you purse carry, I'm going to say check and double check your stuff. We had an article the other day from Turks and Caicos where somebody went to the islands and had ammunition in their suitcase and got a multiple month stay in the Turks and Caicos jail. You need to know what's in your suitcase. You need to check it and make sure that you know
That's
exactly.
why they sell new suitcases all the time. When you're flying somewhere like that, just buy a new one.
Okay. I tear mine completely apart and then put it back together. Because I fly so much that I definitely have to make sure that I understand exactly what is in my bag at any one time. It doesn't look like this judge did. Now we'll wait and see what happens.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition? Well, what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so the Second Amendment Foundation is taking this time with the Supreme Court looking at different lawsuits to jump on a brand new lawsuit that is one we're going to want to be watching. So did you see where the lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania? And it is about challenging Pennsylvania's prohibition allowing young adults 18 to 20 from acquiring a concealed carry license or a license to carry a firearm for personal protection. And so when Bruen came through, one of the things that you had called was that there's not going to be an age limit. And this is going to start to peel that age limit back.
Right. I figured they would catch one of these that are the 12, 14-year-old ones and move it back that far, and then eventually it would go back even further. I mean, because you see once in a while where somebody breaks into the home and the kid gets his .22 rifle out and defends the home or whatever.
Correct.
And so the big thing with Bruen, it doesn't necessarily say there's a timeline as to when you become a citizen of the United States and where the Second Amendment actually covers you. And so it leaves it wide open for an interpretation as to how far, where does you quit being your mom's kid and you start being your own person.
Your own person, right. I mean, and that makes sense. I I don't know. I do know that SAF is trying to get the Supreme Court to look at history, text, and tradition in a meaningful way, and so their look back at history said that young adults between 18 and 20 were fully protected by the Second Amendment at the time that the Second Amendment's ratification in 1791 happened.
I believe this West Virginia has a thing where they have to pay a little bit extra, but they can get a permit as a 18-year-old to carry concealed. I mean, they can't legally buy a gun, so they have to get a gun from their mom or something.
Okay.
Well, but the 1934 Gun Control Act says that if you are a juvenile and you need a gun for work or whatever, you either have to get it from your parents or from your workplace. So it's right in the text.
It's right there. It really is. So their stand is that at the time of the founding, at the time that they wrote the Second Amendment, 1791, at that time, young adults in this age group were actually required to have a gun. They used them to hunt. They used them for personal protection.
Well,
they used them to keep things from trying to eat them.
We've all read the stories of the Pony Express, and they wanted 14-year-olds and up that were orphans so that nobody would miss them when the Indians killed them. But they too could be armed at that point, and it was on them as to whether they wanted to carry the extra weight or not.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, the whole Pony Express thing is, think about it. I mean, at that point, and in that era, if you were an orphan, there really was no. This was a career opportunity.
You look at their advertisements for employment. I mean, HR would go crazy today by reading.
Oh yeah. We have shifted. Time has shifted. Things have gotten better for a lot of people. But
so, the HR department at the Pony Express office wasn't exactly.
I'm pretty sure that they didn't have, just based on the way they act. Do you know that you could mail a child by paying the correct postage?
Right, it was cheaper to mail them than it was to send them by train on their own. So
you just mailed them to someone else. I'm not quite sure who you're sending them to.
Well, sometimes you send the kids from the city. You send them out to your sister's house in the suburbs for the summer, and that way the school was out. They headed out to the great outdoors, and then in the fall, you'd send them back.
Right. So
you just got it spoiled now where you just hop on the car, start it up, and drive across the country. In the old days, people
you had a wagon and a horse and all that. I get
think all about it, how long it takes you to get in your Buick across country with air conditioner on when you're following your ox cart or something. How long does it take to get to your sister's house?
I don't know, but are you using the Pony Express? Is the kid riding double? Or are you using I don't know. It's interesting how history has shifted, and what was the norm versus what is the norm, and then how do you, going back to the Supreme Court, then how do you take things in today's societal acceptances and put them into what they were doing at that point and do the comparative? I mean, I wouldn't want to be a Supreme Court justice for any money. I mean, it's just the amount that you have to wrap your head around thinking how it.
Well, and if you look at this latest, like this Rahimi case, they pretty much blocked it into a certain thing. They didn't look at other factors around it. This was the question they had before them, and this is how they played that question out. Had they had other questions that were involved, then it would have came out completely different. But as it is, they were just they thought that this, what is it, 922-8 was the was what they were dealing with, and that 922-8 shows that you had already been in front of a judge to get the restraining order in the first place. So somebody had to prove that it was necessary. I mean, as to how much proof they have to have,
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, because you know that, like, back to restraining orders, you know that in a lot of cases, restraining orders are filed as just a matter of policy.
It's one more piece of paper. They're already filling out the divorce papers,
right.
So they just fill out that too.
So yeah, it's a piece that kind of fits all into that section. And so the whole Rahimi case, it's gonna be interesting, but I'm hearing more and more people say that they think that the Supreme Court tackled it wrongly, and that they sliced it and diced it.
Well, the thing is they didn't look at it as a Second Amendment thing. So that's the thing, is that we look at it, we're seeing it as a Second Amendment thing because of the gun. They're seeing it as something completely different. And so if it was, I don't know, presented to them as a Second Amendment thing, then they would have looked at it in a different light.
So the case is, and it's like when they get it into the court, it's what do they present at each time, and can they expand that once they did their original presentation at the lowest level court, they don't get an opportunity to then be like, oh, let me redefine this.
Well, here's the thing with this Cargill.
We don't have time to go into. Do not shift topics right now, or you're gonna be right at that thing where I'm gonna tell you that you have to stop talking one more time, and I feel really bad when I tell you have to stop talking, but I will do it.
Okay, well, next hour we'll look at Cargill.
Next hour we will look at Cargill. So, and then hopefully in the next week or two we will have more information on the peeling of the onion, if you will, on Rahimi, where people are, what they're thinking. But I'm seeing more and more people say that they just don't see it the way that the Supreme Court is. But then there are other Supreme Court decisions that I've seen where you see a group have a hard time. This is our turn.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
The radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, so as promised, we are back, and we're going to talk a little bit about Cargill. And so Cargill was a Supreme Court case, and though we are a Second Amendment show, and though we are talking about Second Amendment topics, and though it is an accessory for a firearm, Cargill really is not about Second Amendment issues. It is about the fact that Congress defined how a definition of how a machine gun works, and the ATF took that definition and looked at the bump stock design that was initially presented to them, and they said, no, this is fine. It is fine. It meets the criteria of an accessory, not of a machine gun, and so much so that we will give you a letter that states that. And then later, they invented something new to create a crime and rewrote the law. So they switched it on them. So specific definitions in law are passed by Congress. Just keep that in mind. So federal agencies, the EPA, the ATF, the Housing Board, all of those have authority on regulatory authority. They only have authority granted to them by Congress, and they do not get to rewrite the definitions, reinterpret something, and then invent crimes.
But they have been doing that, and so there's two cases in the Supreme Court. This Cargill, and there's another one that's coming through for some fishing thing.
Right? Yeah, I've written the name of it down, but I don't.
And anyhow, it's it'll be out here before long. But
right, it starts with an L. I remember that, and it yeah. But the interesting part is that in 2022 there was the EPA versus West Virginia. This kind of carries on with that, and as does this next Supreme Court case that's going to be coming out.
Well, and it's funny on this. It says that all of this is not just about the guns. It's going to cover the EPA. It's going to cover.
So here is this is Tom Knighton from Bearing Arms, and he says, but at its core, Cargill isn't a Second Amendment case, and I concur with that. It means that the EPA can't redefine waterways to include your swimming pool just because they want to tell you how much chlorine you can use. I mean, we have the EPA telling you that you had to take a roof off a building because you had too much
water runoff,
too much roofage in your property, right? After you had building permits, but now you have roofage. It means the Department of Transportation cannot challenge definitions of things so that you need a special license for your car because you're side hustling for Uber. So they're making you additional licensing, additional stamps, additional taxes, additional insurances, all of those kinds of things. So they can't do that. But they should not. In fact, most Americans would actually agree that federal bureaucrats should not be allowed to make stuff up and then decide that that's the law, even if they don't actually like what bump stocks do. And that's the thing, is that a bump stock's not for me, but it's not my job to tell you it's for you.
I think the cost of ammunition is kind of run the bump stock its course, because the average person can't just go out and afford to hose down the woods with the
well, there is
ammo
that
costs today, especially since they blocked off the Chinese ammo and the Russian ammo and everything. else was where you got it at a decent price. The other part of this Cargill thing is they're wanting to know who to lay the blame to. I mean, they can see that they've weaponized the Biden has weaponized the
ATF, right?
The ATF, but they're saying that Trump is the one in charge of this bump stock thing. But when it comes right down to it, NBC News says that actually Trump didn't want this rule, but he ordered it anyways because under the strong prodding of the NRA officials, namely Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox at the time, both of those were thinking that the Supreme Court was not going to let this happen.
And so they were pushing it so that it could go to the Supreme Court.
So they figured that it would look good for him. He could put it out. The Supreme Court would block it. It would be all over. They didn't realize it would take them 7 or 8 years for it all to happen. So it was funny because they said that NBC News didn't come out with this on December 18th of 2018. They actually came out with it June 14th of 2024 when the new Supreme Court case decision come out. So they were talking about some of the different things that was going on, but they were expecting that the courts would just block it and it would be
it would just be over. But sometimes the wheels of justice move extremely slow.
What they show you where someone tries to get a law through that they know is unconstitutional or something, it makes them look good in the eyes of the voter, but they know for a fact that it's not going anywhere. So by them just mentioning it, it starts in that direction, it gets swatted down, and they go on about their life. They got their 2 minutes of fame out of it, and
there's that. So that's interesting, So Shelby Smith, who wrote for AmmoLand, was going after and commenting to folks exactly what we have been saying, that the ATF took a consistent position over several administrations that semi-automatic rifles with bump stocks did not meet the definition of machine guns until one day they did.
Well, here's the other part of this Cargill thing is they're saying, I mean, and they're blaming the guy from Connecticut, I believe.
Murphy. Is it Murphy?
Anyhow, they're saying that
Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut. Yeah.
Right. So they say that
his goal is here. Murphy's statement and his goal is that he is an extreme anti-gun legislator. He absolutely is. And so he says that the Cargill sign is the sign that the Supreme Court plans to fundamentally rewrite the Second Amendment to make it harder for Congress or state legislators to be able to regulate guns. Does the history and tradition of our country really suggest that the Founding Fathers meant for a Second Amendment to arm Americans with guns that fire 400 to 800 rounds per minute?
Right, but they're saying that a lot of the thing is because this is an election year and he's just running his mouth. They say the Democrats are desperate and they cannot handle the idea of a second Trump presidency, and they are trying to attack on his record. And so he's already nominated 3 Supreme Court justices that gave you this stuff. So they've already said if he can say that they're allowing machine guns to be handed out lawfully on every street corner, it's going to terrify some Americans into not supporting Trump, especially with the opportunity they're saying that they may get to pick 2 more Supreme Court justices
in the next 4 years. So they're terrified of whoever gets to pick that. So the interesting piece of the Cargill thing is that So to my ear,
Well, she was trying to block during her descent.
right?
She stepped right in it.
She stepped in it. She stepped in it so much that she's got it all over her shoe. She is not going to be able to scrape that off of her shoe.
Well, and they're saying that's going to set a precedent in the future.
So she is saying how common an AR-15 is. The common, so that are commonly available. So ergo, if it's commonly available, that means that it's commonly owned, because they wouldn't make them available if no one was buying them.
Right, and then they said that Heller says that commonly owned all of a sudden takes them off the
restriction list, that they
right.
cannot restrict something that is in common use. So in common use is the word. So she stepped in it. It's all over her shoe. We're going to leave it at that. We'll be right back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds, or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so did you know that the RNC, Republican National Convention, is going to Milwaukee? So they're 50 states, delegates from all 50 states are going there. Donald Trump is, well, he should be going there, depending on whether or not they're going to have him in jail. But he will be there. So
I think them putting him in jail would be the. I mean, he can't get pressed like that, so I think that it would be good for him.
Tactically, it would be a mistake for the other team. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Not necessarily good for him to spend time in jail.
Well, just think of the amount of money he'd save. He doesn't have all traveling and food or anything like this.
I can't even imagine the Secret Service agent saying, "How do you protect
sitting in jail with you?
How do you protect a president? Are they giving him a special jail? Is he like Goldie Hawn, where she wants the army with the palm trees and the beaches, not the one with the machine guns and the tanks?"
Well, more than likely, if they do put him in jail, they're gonna probably just send him home and put a guard on him. Same as every day. He's already got it.
He's already got a guard on. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Well, Milwaukee, a city alderman, Bob Bauman, has decided that though Wisconsin is a pro-gun state, Milwaukee is not a anti-gun city. Bob Bauman, on the other hand, is an anti-gun alderman. And so he introduced an amendment on Friday encouraging the city's public safety committee to bypass state law and to ban guns within a perimeter of the RNC. So we're back to bypassing state law.
They should be able to look at the other cities where the RNC was at, and also like when the NRA comes to town, because I went to Milwaukee with the NRA a couple different times, and they should see that crime does not follow people with guns in their pocket.
It does not. Right. I mean, there's just a spot where if he's an elected alderman and the first thing he says is, "We may be sued, but I'm not afraid of being sued," when he bypasses state law, isn't there a thing where he holds up 3 fingers and pledges?
That's the Boy Scouts.
Oh. Well, okay, so he puts his hand on a Bible and pledges.
Or something. Yeah, he's got to take some kind of oath of office.
Right.
Most of them, though, today, they take an oath of office and then they shrug it off and go on about their business. Ideally, there should be some penalties in that. I mean, it should cost you a couple fingernails or something.
There should be something. But the interesting part is that Wisconsin is so pro-gun that 74% of the vote voted in a Second Amendment sanctuary protection, so that they're like not in my state, right? And then this dude's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna bypass the law. We're just gonna modify this. I'm not afraid of no ghosts." Something. I don't know. But luckily, calmer heads prevailed, and they decided that a different alderman said that he will not allow that to happen, because he says that we would be potentially encouraging groups who feel very, very strongly about this, very strongly about our Second Amendment rights. And he says, though I have there's no harm in feeling strongly about it, but we would be encouraging them to come and say, "I dare you to stop me." And Milwaukee is already going to be full from the RNC, and they don't want to fill it full of what was it? What did they do when they would do those armed protests? You know, and everybody would.
Well, like when they went to Virginia that time, with everybody
everybody
took their BAR and went to Virginia for a couple of days.
Exactly. They're saying we do not want this in Milwaukee, and this alderman is like, and I can visualize it coming that way, and that I am afraid of being sued, right? That is a
right. I mean, this is a spot where your Second Amendment rights should actually cause you to want to have a 107 Barrett and know how to use it, so that you got at least something to carry when you're at the parade. And
I have a parade gun. I will bring my Tiger Stripe Chrome Tommy gun. I think it makes a statement. I could even just get shoes to go with it. You know, that way I'm all color coordinated. But yeah, no, I just, you know, you look at some of this stuff and it's like, don't you see a problem with bypassing the state law because you have an agenda?
A lot of times they don't think that far ahead.
Well, they should.
Really, it is all about me.
Okay, that would be. I've been elected, and I am a big deal. You just don't. I even have the T-shirt that says I'm a big deal.
Oh, big
right?
deal.
That's it. That's how this alderman comes across, right? He needs to be wearing his big deal T-shirt when he says he's not he ain't afraid of no ghosts. He ain't afraid of being sued. So did you see that Mark and Patricia McCluskey have now been, so their whole record has been expunged? So
this was taking them so long, and it was funny because they at first they said they weren't going to take their law license or whatever from them, but they would still give them they were still throwing the book at them.
Well, they tried to take it was on the table for both Mark and Patricia to lose their law licenses, and then they threw the book at them in other ways, but they did not.
So here's the key: they want to get their gun back. If they don't get their gun back, those guns should actually go to the Smithsonian and be on display with the.
Well, he says he's filing a lawsuit, and you know he now is still a lawyer.
Right.
So he knows a lawyer, and then he's married to a lawyer, and so yeah.
The prosecutor, that Kim Gardner, who was after him so violently, she's out.
She's unemployed or not employed there. So yeah, so there's a lot of, but they really held them up as an example. And it was craziness.
And we gotta almost say thank you for the three years of
perseverance
jumping they've been doing
for perseverance. We'll see if they're on the Trump gun board this year. We'll see. We'll be back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so, you know, the interesting part about constitutional carry is that Ohio passed its constitutional carry and became the 23rd state. I thought it was the 22nd state, but this author says it was the 23rd state to allow citizens to carry concealed. But right now there are 29 constitutional carry or permitless carry states in the United States.
You know, I think that when Ohio passed theirs, somebody else had passed one, but it was the kind of thing. Ohio passed theirs, and theirs was going into
effect, and then
and the other one passed it earlier, but it didn't go into effect for a longer time. So there's a mix-up as to who got what.
Who got what? Where do they fit? Right? There is that. But what's really, there was an op-ed that was written that is talking about constitutional carry and calling it criminal carry, because they're saying that then if you don't need a background check, if you don't need the extra permitting, if you don't need fingerprinted, if you don't need additional training, then criminals are going to carry guns like that.
Well, criminals already are carrying guns like that.
I know that, and you
they
know
weren't
that.
worried about any of that stuff.
Obviously, the writer of the op-ed thought that it's they just had an epiphany that said that, well, you've made it to where criminals are allowed to carry that way.
Maybe it's because they just made marijuana legal in their state too, and they finally just got to that spot where things.
They started the
Great Awakening is happening.
I don't know. I do not know. But it's really. So they're saying that constitutional carry or permitless carry creates more crime, and it's like that's
no.
not.
It shows in the thing that if
data.
there's more hidden guns in people's pockets, there's less likelihood that someone's going to actually do something.
I mean, we started the show with talking about Chicago and the fact that
you can't trust the general public as is. So now that they all got a gun in their pocket, you definitely don't want to.
You want to be a little more polite, but we talked about the Chicago Tribune having angst with people fighting back with their concealed carry because crime is rising in Ohio. So Ohio began their journey down constitutional carry in mid-June 2022. So a couple years now. So there's some data. There's time for data. There's time to look at information and be like, okay, how is this turning out? And overall, crime in Ohio has dropped in the 8 largest cities as you look at them. So in the state of Ohio, and then in the 8 largest cities, and then if you look specifically at them, 6 of the 8 largest cities, crime has gone down. In 2 of them, it's kind of stayed stationary. So there is a national trend. Data shows there's a national trend that says that if someone else may have a gun in their pocket, people aren't as likely to victimize them, aren't as likely to pick them out of a crowd and decide that they want whatever you've got in your pocket or they want you.
It makes you wonder, if you've got a gun in your pocket, do you act differently? Do you walk differently? Do people pick up on that? Is there a perceived more assuredness to yourself? Or is it just that...
I think that there's just the odds that there will be more people with guns in their pockets than causes people to stop and think before they go down
like
that
I said
path.
about gunfight, first rule of gunfight is remember you have a gun.
is to have the gun and then remember that you have the gun. Where did I leave my gun? Which gun do I have? And that's a very good point. If you always carry it the same way, you'll remember you have a gun.
Right. If you only carry it occasionally and then things fly to pieces, sometimes it's all over before you realize that I got a gun in my
I still have a gun. I had a gun. Right. Not wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
We had a friend got into an altercation, and him and the neighbor had a claw hammer, and he used a SIG 229. Mm-hmm. They clobbered each other with these things. The police come, it's like, why did you shoot him? And he's like, I didn't think it had escalated to that yet.
So the neighbor had hit him with a claw hammer, had swung the claw part at him.
Both of them ended up going to get stitches in their head and everything.
Our friend actually turned his gun around, held onto the barrel, and wailed on the neighbor using the grips of the gun as that. And then he was very disturbed by the fact that the police kept his gun for a while they sorted it all out, and they didn't clean it because it had evidence on it, and the evidence removed the bluing. So he was not happy about the condition that his firearm was returned to him when it was returned to him. But you're right, he did say, I didn't think that I was at my last resort yet. I had options still. So, it was a crazy story. It was absolutely a crazy story. But he remembered he had a gun. He just thought it looked like a hammer today.
Right. Well, they started out with he started out with one of his little dinky flashlights and decided he needed something bigger. That's when he got his gun out.
Well, and it's funny because nobody was shot. It really is. You would think that one of them needs to move neighborhoods, right? I mean, if you and your neighbor fight like fisticuffs, like a handicap, somebody needs to not live there. That's just my thought process there. Put it up for sale, move on, so that you're not in.
Maybe it's that 3-time thing. You got if 2 times is an anomaly, the 3rd time to move.
It's a trend. I just think that when you sit and say the principle of the thing says this, you're wrong. You're just wrong because it is not that principled. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I had a neighbor like that he had to go, and luckily he decided he was just renting and he moved, but
so he moved before you had to move, or before you had to
move him or something.
You had to handicap in fisticuffs. See, I have fabulous neighbors. I have neighbors who I have absolutely no problems with our neighbors at all. They're like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? How, all of that. So sometimes you get a good neighborhood, and sometimes you don't.
Right. Well, sometimes you don't.
Right.
So
sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Okay, what else you got?
Well, here's one about a workplace dispute where it really, they don't even know what the details are. 2 women co-workers and a man co-worker got into some kind of argument at work. Then on the way out of work, the 2 women pulled in front of him to block his car, and then the one got out with a gun to come back to
the
him.
passenger window to wave a gun at him.
So he shot her. The other one come up and was beating on him, and then the police finally broke it all up and everything, but they're not saying.
How angry would you be about something at work? This again, quit. You were looking for a job when you found this job. Quit your job and go someplace else, as opposed to
go home. It'll be different tomorrow.
As opposed to cutting him off, going to the passenger side, waving a gun at him, and they didn't prosecute him because he'd been punched in the face. He had a gun aimed at him. I think they actually hit his car.
Right. There's so many bad things you could do to someone at work that this gunplay in the parking lot was uncalled for.
Right.
So
So one of the gals got in his car, and then that's when she pulled a gun, and then he pulled a gun back. Shazam! Surprise! He's got one too. But I cannot even imagine your coworkers having such employment rage, right? So what happened? You didn't calculate a spreadsheet the right way? I mean, I just cannot even,
I mean, it's one thing if they own the company, but if they just work there,
they just work there. I mean, so what is it that there was a rounding error, and so they couldn't make the books balance? I cannot even imagine something at work that would make you that angry. To cut him off, to hit him with your car, to punch him in the face, to pull a gun on him. That's just crazy talk. So she's dead, and he's not being prosecuted. So who's sorry now? I guess she was. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust Is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust Is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust Is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust Is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
So there is an ATF whistleblower that was a deputy assistant director for the ATF who blew the whistle on the Operation Fast and Furious. He got involved in a manner to where he was talking about how the ATF overreach is a problem. So he now has weighed in on the bump stock ruling, on the Cargill ruling, and says that it was the right decision in striking down the ATF's ban on bump stocks, so that he believes the Supreme Court was right on that decision, and I
The funny
think
part,
so
no
too.
one said anything about Cargill and how much did he lose when he had to shut down his company and destroy all of his stuff and that? And
Right.
is he capable of getting back in the business? I take it that he still owns his patents and all that stuff. So
It's just and then how long has it been, and patents are only good for so long, so they didn't pause. So, pretty soon you'll get generic bump stocks, right? But yeah. So
just don't bump.
maybe. There's that. There's stuff that you got, and then you get the generic version or the the black and white version of something, as opposed to, remember when beer was labeled just white can, black words, beer?
Right.
And yeah.
The funny part, when you would burn that in a campfire, it was a regular name brand of beer in there. It was just that the label was upside down or a partial label or something. So they just bought all the rejects from the beer companies, and then they rolled them with this white paint and sold it as generic. It was a phase back in the 70s when you guys, a lot of you missed it, I'm sure, but we went through a generic everything. You could buy it just said chips on the bag. It was white bags and black.
It did. Everything was black and white.
Chips. Beer said beer. Pop
but how
said
did we
poppin'.
get? I know we had that, and then we stopped it. What happened? I don't remember.
People smartened up and just went back to buying the normal stuff.
Yeah. Now they
the
just.
The bicentennial was over. We're good with it.
We're good.
Just buy our normal.
We're good. So, I don't remember how we even went down this rabbit hole. Okay, so
black and white generic beer cans versus generic bump stocks.
Generic.
Or what is that Chinese Temu or whatever that you can order everything off of that nothing works out or whatever?
Oh, there is, yeah. Right. So it is. It's this guy, the whistleblower from the ATF, says, do not think that because the ATF has lost on the Cargill decision that they're done.
Oh no, we've just seen that they're going after the Glock switches and stuff like that. I seen a thing where they were trying to force the vendors into, if you get a government contract, you can't sell to the general public.
Correct.
So if you're selling to the military, if you're selling to the police departments, whatever, all of a sudden that blocks you from the civilian market.
The interesting part is that that contract has to be so juicy that it.
Well, the other part is you've seen it before where they just Stevens and Savage were let's go that way. Stevens sold the exact same gun that Savage sold. Mm-hmm. They just had a different number on it, and maybe the Savage had pressed in checkering, the Stevens didn't. So Glock may sell to the police departments, and Inspiel or whatever is going to sell to the other team. You know what I mean? Same exact product, just made on the same exact line. They just
owned by two different.
Right, it's like a Ford and a Mercury comes off the same assembly line, and sometimes you luck out and get a Ford with a Mercury nameplate on it.
Because, whoops. Yeah. Remember that when you would get something that's got like half the nameplates on it? One side said this, one side said that.
I had a Dodge van years ago that said Plymouth inside, Dodge outside.
I can absolutely see how that would be, somebody counted 17 and somebody else counted 18 and boom, there you go. Now everything is off until somebody goes, wait, what? I just put purple trim in a green car because something does not line up exactly the way it's supposed to line up. I don't know. So, I was talking to somebody the other day. I went up near Toledo, and I did a concealed carry fashion show, and we were talking about carrying and about preparedness and all of that kind of stuff. And it was really interesting as people are like, well, now that Ohio has constitutional carry, and now that I can just carry like this, I don't need a permit, I don't need training, I don't need anything. And it's like, well, you're not required by law to have, but that is completely different than need.
Well, the other problem you have with I don't need training is what training do you need? If you know nothing, then you don't even know what questions to ask about getting training.
To do your own self training.
Right. Do I need to go to the, do I need to get the same training as a police officer is getting? Do I need to get the same training that the Marine Corps is getting? Do I need to just get someone to show me how to load and unload my gun without shooting myself in the keister? How much training? What kind of training? What am I going to get into? I mean, I don't.
If I'm in a car ramming co-worker circumstance, I want all the training I can get so I can get my gun out of wherever I've got it while I'm sitting in my car that's being rammed while my co-worker is trying to get in the passenger seat.
And then you want to make sure at that point you have a good enough horsepower gun to get out of your car and into their car without any problems. So now you need to upgrade to a Desert Eagle for your car gun.
For your car gun. I was talking to somebody and they were like, they have a Taurus Judge for their car gun. They're like, because baby don't miss. I was like, okay, well, it's a 410 shotgun. So you still can.
Right,
you can
still miss, and
you can still miss.
So if both of you are in armored plated cars, sometimes you can't get through the car to get to the other guy.
And so, and you're thinking, well, why would I shoot somebody in another car? They are ramming you. Their intention is, it's not the demolition derby, but they're acting like that.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is you're already in a 3,000-pound blunt object. Why not use it to your advantage? So instead of worrying about your gun, run them down.
Ram them. Right? I mean, but think about it. It is the demolition derby, and you're trying to stay alive.
Right, so you can either try to get away, or you can just run them down, so your choice.
Right, well, I'm just saying that there's some advice for your career. No, but I mean, really, don't get out of your car.
But have you ever drawn your gun inside your car? Have you tried to use a gun inside the car? Have you shot from the inside the car? Do you understand
90% of the population could not get to their gun when they're sitting down.
Cesar Romero lean out the window shooting the gun at the bad guy ahead of him or whatever, and he wasn't doing too well at hitting anything. So new techniques have come up where they just tell you to you can hold the steering wheel and both hands on the gun and just shoot through the windshield.
Right.
So you just have to decide that I'm going to tear up my own equipment is all.
Right, and that is a thought process that you really have to kind of think through. You have to give yourself permission that, guess what, my car's going to bite the biscuit if
now
this is the
sing that Safe Light Repair song while you're shooting.
Remember, this is why you have insurance. I have insurance, and I'm not afraid to use it. This would be the theme for that. We'll see you next.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. Realize FAC